Today we're going to be going over all things Rinnegan, and even go over the individual Rinnegan shown in the Boruto manga and anime. But before we get into that, we're going to invite you guys to enter a little competition. Have you ever designed your own Mangekyo Sharingan, or thought up an awesome ability for one? Well, now's your chance. Create a Google Doc or Google Slide with the image of your custom Mangekyo design, followed by the abilities you came up for it. Then comment the link below. If you don't want to make your own design, you can just use the image of your favorite Sharingan, and if you don't want to make your own abilities, you can just use abilities that already exist, which you can see in the video here. We will then make a video rating the abilities and designs, and obviously giving you guys credit for the design unless you tell us not to. Don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell. Now let's get into the Rinnegan. Firstly, I'll be going over a brief breakdown of the Rinnegan, like you can see here in our original Sharingan video. Very few, if any, people can ever unlock this powerful Dojutsu due to its difficult requirements to unlock. These requirements are combining the chakra of a reincarnation of Indra and Ashura to emulate Hagoromo's chakra. On top of this, they require a Sharingan to evolve into the Rinnegan in the first place. But these requirements are more than worth the power of the Rinnegan. A basic understanding of the Rinnegan is it grants the user all 5 chakra natures, has 6 unique abilities known as the 6 paths of the Rinnegan. On top of this, it has a 7th outer path, which can be used to create and control the bodies, create the black chakra receivers, and use some unique abilities, which will be discussed later. And if your Rinnegan has Tomoe, you can also use your Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan abilities with your Rinnegan abilities.
Rinnegan originates from Kaguya after she became the Jinjuriki of the Ten Tails, gaining the Rinnesharingan. This gave her son Hagoromo a new Dojutsu derived from it called the Sharingan, which eventually evolved into the Rinnegan. Rinnegan evolves from the Sharingan from the chakra of Hagoromo, or the combination of the chakra of his 2 sons, Indra and Ashura. It took Madara years to evolve his Sharingan into the Rinnegan after granting Hashirama cells onto himself, this combining the Indra and Ashura chakra. The other Rinnegan owned by the other Otsutsuki don't have known origins, but clearly don't require Hagoromo's chakra, so it's likely something more closely related to Otsutsuki chakra rather than Hagoromo himself. These other Otsutsuki also never had the Rinnesharingan like Kaguya, so it's likely they were born with just Rinnegan.
Now once again it's time for our little game before we go straight into the video. I hope you remember the rules. If you guess wrong, then you have no choice but to subscribe to Kontetsu Kage's. However, if you're right, comment the answer below. Which path of pain is currently on the screen? A, the Diva path, B, the Naraka path, C, the animal path, or D, the human path? If you guessed the Naraka path, you would be right. However, if you're wrong, make sure you press that subscribe button. Going further into depth about the Rinnegan, it has a powerful visual genjutsu resistance, allowing the user to resist the effects of visual genjutsu, such as the infinite Tsukiyomi. It's likely capable of completely resisting weaker visual genjutsu as well. The Rinnegan has also been implied to have genjutsu capabilities, and even gives the user physical boosts far exceeding that of the Sharingan at any stage. Paired with that, each Rinnegan comes with one unique ability. They become proficient in all 5 chakra natures, they gain the ability to summon the Geto statue, and the Rinnegan allows the user to seal the 10 tails. The Rinnegan can do everything the Sharingan can do, but better. And on top of all that, every Rinnegan has access to the 6 paths and the outer path.
Now to begin going over each path individually, I'll start with the Diva path. The Diva path grants full user control over the forces of attraction or repulsion. The user can levitate using the powers of the Diva path. The powers, however, have their limitations. Firstly, it costs chakra to use, and that chakra is proportional to the amount of force used. For example, the almighty push used to destroy the village requires much more chakra than a small push used to block something like Kuna. On top of this, pain required a 5-second gap between usages, although it's unknown if all users have to abide by this time restriction. The more power used, the longer that 5-second cooldown becomes. Along with this power over the attraction and repulsion, there's also a technique known as Chibiku Tensei. This technique creates a black sphere which pulls its surroundings towards it, creating what is essentially a tiny moon. which can be used as a form of sealing technique.
The Preta Path absorbs chakra in any form, whether it be regular chakra, ninjutsu, or even sage chakra. The Preta Path can absorb it all. The Preta Path can absorb chakra from someone they touch, or they can create a physical barrier around them to absorb ninjutsu that comes within the radius, such as Pain did with Naruto's Rasen Shuriken, or Madara with Onoki's particle style. If the user of this path cannot control senjutsu, then any sage chakra absorbed risks turning them to stone or any other side effects of sage chakra, such as turning into a frog. Absorbing enough chakra can also revitalize the user, healing them in a similar fashion to how Kusame uses Samehara. Although used primarily defensively, this could also be used offensively to suck opponents dry of chakra, like Edo Nagato did with Killer Bee, healing himself.
Next up is the Animal Path. This path allowed the user to summon several powerful creatures with unique abilities, all of which share the Rinnegan visually and are seemingly immortal due to their being able to be summoned even after they have been defeated before. Just as the other paths of pain, the summons and pains all share vision with the other. The animals summoned appear to have the same black rods throughout them as the pain bodies. On top of summoning the animals, the animal path can summon the other bodies of the other path, as well as seemingly able to summon friends, such as when Pain summoned Conan. Something to note is summoning the animals of the animal path didn't require a blood sacrifice or hand signs for the user of this technique. However, it still does summon the other paths or allies. The animal path we have seen has 8 distinct summons, including the giant drill-beak bird, giant multi-headed dog, giant snake-tailed chameleon, giant panda, giant ox, giant rhino, giant crustacean, and the giant centipede. The giant drill-beak bird is a high-speed bird with a massive beak used for dive bomb attacks. On top of this, in the anime, it was able to lay eggs, which drop like bombs and explode. The multi-headed dog is considered one of the strongest because of its unique abilities. When attacked, this summon could split its body into individual dogs, which could re-emerge again. On top of this, the dog gained an additional head every time it split its body in this way, similar to a Hydra. Besides this, the summon couldn't be defeated unless you defeated the summoner. In this case, that would be the user of the animal path. The giant snake-tailed chameleon is capable of going entirely invisible, and the animal path user can even hide within the mouth of the chameleon. The chameleon has the ability to walk up walls or ceilings, thanks to its reptilian feet, and a snake tail can be used to grab targets and attack. The giant panda is pretty well just that. It does have one unique trait to harden its body and become a shield for the user. The giant ox has absolutely nothing special over any of the other summons. It's just a very large, strong ox with shared vision. The giant rhino is the exact same position as the ox, being massive and strong, nothing special. The giant crustacean has a shell that acts as armor. On top of that, it can actually use water release techniques. The giant centipede again is another basic non-summon, like the rhino and ox, which just uses size and strength for destruction. And as I said before, also path of pain can be summoned using one.
The Ashura path essentially allows the user to become a cyborg. They gain mechanical augmentations such as missiles, chakra cannons, additional arms, detachable/launchable arms, and even jets from the feet, allowing for flight. The mechanical upgrades also enhance the strength of the Ashura path user to the point where they can rip off the arm and crush the throat of a legendary Sani. The Ashura path also has access to numerous tendrils, drills, and flexible blades to use in combat, thanks to the modifications. As far as we know, the enhancements allow for a maximum of 4 additional arms, as well as 2 additional faces, as well as a folded serrated blade-like sash around the waist. The enhancements also allow for the Ashura path to survive otherwise fatal injuries, thanks to its mechanical internals. The Naraka path has two primary abilities based on summoning the King of Hell. The King of Hell can be used to interrogate foes as well as restore allies. The King of Hell appears as a massive head with purple flames surrounding it. To restore allies, the target of the healing must be fed to the head, which then leads to a restored body coming out after some time. This easily makes it one of the most valuable paths, as it allows for the complete restoration of injured allies. When it comes to the interrogation ability, this isn't the most useful or used, but it allows for the user to summon the King of Hell, which, if used to capture a target, the target gets their life force energy drawn from them. If they then lie, they get their tongue eaten by the King of Hell, thus killing the target. But if they tell the truth, they are spared, being left completely exhausted. The human path is a more simplistic path which allows the user to attempt to pull the soul from the targets with physical contact, although those with strong souls can resist this technique, like we see with Naruto. If pulling the soul out is successful, the user can obtain information from the target, but inevitably killing those who have their soul removed. This path is, however, essentially useless in regular combat.
The other path is a more specific and very unique path. This is the path that grants the ability to use the black chakra receivers in the corpses to control them, and grant them the abilities of the Rinnegan as well as the shared vision. This path is also what allows for the creation of the black chakra rods, which can be used offensively by stabbing them through a target and channeling chakra into them to immobilize the targets, like we see here with Naruto and with Tobirama. On top of that, the user can summon the chains of the ghetto statue to further restrain targets, specifically having seals to suppress the power of tailed beasts, allowing them to be combined into the ghetto statue to reform the Ten Tails. And the final notable ability of the Ring Path is the ability to use one's life force to restore the dead back to life. This technique is known as Rinnegan.
Now getting into specific Rinnegan abilities, we will be starting with Madara Uchiha. Madara's Rinnegan allowed him to summon Limbo clones. These clones are invisible and incorporeal. They cannot be seen without a Rinnegan or sensed without Sage Mode, and won't take damage unless Senjutsu is used to harm them. On top of this, the clones are stated to be equal in power to the user, even capable of using the jutsus of the user, although the clones have a limitation where they need to periodically return to the user. Madara unlocked his Rinnegan when he grafted Hashirama cells onto himself. It took years for the Rinnegan to actually awaken, but it was done by the combining of Indra and Ashura chakra inside Madara.
Sasuke's Rinnegan only appears in one eye and allows him to swap places between himself and something he is looking at. He often uses this to switch places with a foe after intentionally getting in a bad situation, here in this fight with Momoshiki. He can also swap the position of two things he's looking at, such as a kunai and a jutsu. This was also shown in this fight with Momoshiki, as well as other instances. Besides this, Sasuke's Rinnegan has 6 Stone, allowing him to use his regular Mangekyo abilities up through his Rinnegan. Sasuke's Rinnegan was given to him when Hagoromo gave him some of his chakra to Sasuke, thus awakening the 6 Stone Rinnegan. Momoshiki's Rinnegan is the first Rinnegan we see from anyone besides descendants of Kaguya. His Rinnegan is very unique because it's not the usual purple Rinnegan and is initially shown as red, although it's not the Rinnesharingan. His Rinnegan is even further unique because they reside in his palms rather than his eye sockets. The right Rinnegan allows the user to absorb any chakra-based technique, which can be sent back using the left Rinnegan at a multiplied power and size. Momoshiki stated he could do this an unlimited amount of times, although the user's chakra may limit it. With the right Rinnegan, he was also capable of turning targets into pills, granting him their youth, chakra, and technique arsenal. Once Momoshiki absorbed Kinshiku, using that technique, he gained a third Rinnegan in the center of his forehead, and all 3 Rinnegan became yellow rather than red. Besides this, when we see his Rinnegan, it displays the same basic abilities as other Rinnegan.
Urashiki is a second example of a Rinnegan, which isn't the regular purplish color, but is instead able to transform, very much unlike any other eye we see. Urashiki's eyes are the Byakugan that can swap into a blue Rinnegan or a red 6 Tomoe Rinnegan, which is not a Rinnesharingan, to clarify. Urashiki is an anime-only character, found only in Boruto. However, he and his Rinnegan is explored enough so we can go over. His red Tomoe Rinnegan allowed him to use the technique known as Yomotsu Hirasaka. This ability is said to be the progenitor of all space-time ninjutsu, and may be familiar as the jutsu Kaguya used. The blue Rinnegan allowed Urashiki to travel several seconds back in time. If used repeatedly, he could create perfect counterattacks thanks to his future knowledge. However, once again, Urashiki is entirely anime only.
The Rinnesharingan is a unique dojutsu which comes from the Ten-Tail/God tree. This dojutsu is also the origin of the Rinnegan we know of. As we have said before, Kaguya with the Rinnesharingan birthed Hagoromo, who was born with the Sharingan and eventually unlocked the Rinnegan we know of with the purple color. From that day forward, anyone who could obtain the chakra of the reincarnations of his two sons, like obtained Hagoromo's chakra, and this would eventually unlock the Rinnegan. Unlike the other Tomoe Rinnegan, the Rinnesharingan is supposed to have 9 Tomoe and manifest in the forehead of the Jinjuriki of the Ten-Tails. The Rinnesharingan also possesses the ultimate genjutsu known as Infinite Tsukiyomi. On top of that, the Rinnesharingan allowed Kaguya to use Meno Manaka and Yomotsu Hirasaka, which was talked about before. This allowed Kaguya to travel between dimensions, inside and out of combat. The Rinnesharingan is also believed to have the strength of both the Rinnegan and the Sharingan combined, although nothing is truly known about that part.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We both hope you are enjoying our content, so please like and subscribe if you'd like to see any more. Any and all feedback is appreciated, so comment below. If there's anything else you'd like to see, any video suggestions are also appreciated.